guys, it's Hannah, and today I'm coming to you with my October wrap-up. So in the month of October, I completed a total of 5 books, which I'm actually pretty proud of because I've had a really busy month. It's just a really busy semester for me because I have college apps because I'm transferring and things like that going on, so school has been kind of stressful, so I've been trying to put off some of my reading because I don't have as much time, but I still managed to complete 5 books, and I actually had a really good reading month because I really enjoyed all of these books, which hasn't happened for me for a while. So without any further ado, let's get into all of them. The first book I read in October was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I have a full video review for this book already up on my channel, so I will leave it linked on the screen as well as down below if you would like to go watch it. Crooked Kingdom is the second and final book in the Six of Crows duology, and it takes place in the Grishaverse, so it's the same universe as the Grisha trilogy. And in this series we follow 6 characters who are all commissioned to go on this heist, which is pretty much the plot of the first book. And then in this book we follow the characters as they go on some more adventures, and I absolutely love this series. This book kind of gave me a life crisis for a little while because I thought that I liked it more than the Night Circus, and part of me still likes part of it more than I like parts of the Night Circus. It's very confusing. They're just two very, very different books, so I like them for different reasons, but this is up there on my favorites of all time. It was incredible. I obviously can't say too much about it because it's the second book in the series and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but if you have not picked up the Six of Crows duology yet, please pick them up. I think it is the best YA series that is currently out, and it is my favorite YA series I've ever read. They are just so fantastic. I cannot rave about this series enough. You have an extremely diverse main cast of characters. There are a lot of really important themes that are discussed in this series as well. I can't even explain how much I love these books and how much I want everyone to read them. If you'd like to hear a little bit more of my thoughts, I also have a spoiler-free Goodreads review, so I will leave that linked in the description box so you can go read that, or you can go and watch my spoilery discussion video for this because it's basically just 15 minutes of me ranting about how much I loved this book. And it goes without saying, but I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in October I picked up because I was in the Halloween spirit, and that is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. So this is the book that the movie Coraline is based off of, and if you haven't seen that movie or if you haven't read this book, it's about this girl who moves into this new house with her mom and her dad, and her mom and dad don't really pay very much attention to her, and as she's exploring this new house that they've moved into, she finds this door that is just bricked up right behind it, but then one night when she opens the door leads into this other world where she meets her other mother and her other father. And in this other world there are the exact same people that are in her real world, except all of these people have buttons for eyes. And I'm not going to say too much more than that because if you haven't read this, then I definitely think it's something you should experience for yourself without knowing too much. But I really enjoyed this book. This was absolutely the perfect book to read around Halloween. It's very creepy. There are a lot of pictures in here also that are just like really unsettling, and just they're really good. It's also super short. I think it's just over 150 pages, so I read it in one sitting, but it was a very fun book to read. I've loved the movie Coraline ever since I was really young, so getting to read the book finally was a really nice experience to compare the two and see how they were different and similar. The movie changes a couple of things, but not too drastically that it changes the overall feel of the story, but I think I like them both pretty much equally. They're just both really creepy and both so perfect for Halloween. And I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in October was another kind of Halloween themed read, and that is You by Caroline Kepnes. I'd been wanting to read this book for a while, but Daniela over at Pixie Tonic had been pressuring me to read this because she really loves this book, so she wanted me to read it. So she finally convinced me to pick it up in October, and I am so happy because I loved this book. I've talked about this book on my channel several times before, but if you don't know, it is about this man who is stalking this woman, and the book is told in the first person narrative and kind of the second person narrative as well, because when he's talking, he refers to the girl he's stalking as you a lot of the time, and sometimes it feels like he's directly talking to you, which gets really uncomfortable and creepy, but in a really good way. This is genuinely the creepiest book I've ever read because you're reading it from the perspective of this stalker, so he's pretty much crazy and he does things that are terrible, but you're reading from his perspective, and sometimes I would find myself agreeing with him or siding with him until I realized what he was actually doing, and I was like, no, I don't actually agree with this. What's going on? It just messes with your mind so much, and it's so great because of that. I would definitely say that this book is not for everyone because it has a lot of mature adult themes, language, sex, violence, a lot of those things. So if you're not comfortable with that, then you'd probably want to stay away from this one, but if you don't have a problem reading anything like that, definitely pick this up. I can't recommend this enough. I said this in my Goodreads review as well as in another video, but the way that I would describe this book is that it is like a crossover episode of Law and Order SVU and Criminal Minds told from the perspective of the criminal. And that's just like the greatest thing in the world to me, which is why I loved this so much. And I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in October is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I have a full spoiler-free review for this book up on my channel already, so I will leave that linked on the screen as well as down below if you'd like to go watch it. So I won't spend too much time talking about this book here, but I will just say that I absolutely adored this book. Many of you probably know this because I've talked about it a few times, but I am not the biggest fan of YA contemporary. I don't really reach for it that often, and of all the ones that I've read, I like very, very few. It's just the themes are not something I usually get that into, and it's just not as enjoyable for me as fantasy or magical realism. But when I heard the premise of this book, it really intrigued me. It's told from the perspective of two characters, Natasha and Daniel, and Natasha is a Jamaican immigrant, and her family are about to be deported to Jamaica, and Daniel is a Korean-American boy who is just trying to live up to his parents' expectations, and he has an interview for university, but he doesn't really know if he wants to go to university. And then Natasha and Daniel happen to run into each other and they meet, and then they spend the entire day together, and it happens to be the day that Natasha's family is about to be deported back to Jamaica. The whole story takes place over that one day, and it's about Natasha and Daniel's relationship, but it's also about so much more. This book deals with topics like race and ethnicity and nationality and just so many wonderful things that you don't really find that often in a lot of YA novels. It's incredibly diverse in its characters and its themes, and it was such an enjoyable book for me to read. I absolutely loved it, and it immediately shot up to the top of my list of favorites. This book came out very recently, so if you could get your hands on a copy, I would highly recommend getting one, checking it out from the library, whatever that may be, and reading it for yourself because it's so good and I can't recommend it enough. And to no surprise, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. And finally, the last book that I read in October was The Well of Ascension, the second book in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. The Mistborn trilogy, for those of you who don't know, is this high fantasy adult series that takes place in this world where the political climate is very heated. There is a divide between the upper class kind of noble people and the Ska, which are essentially slaves who are oppressed by this society. There's this evil ruler who presides over the land, the Lord Ruler, and in the first book we follow this group of characters who are trying to take down the Lord Ruler. But in this world as well, there's also a magic system, and the way that the magic in this world works is that those who have the ability to use magic can consume metals, and they can use those metals to perform certain powers. Some people are only able to consume and use one metal, and they are called mistlings, whereas there are very few people who are able to consume, I think, all 12 metals, and they are called mistborns, and they are very powerful. So that's pretty much the overall plot of the series, and obviously I can't tell you too much about this one because it would spoil the entire first book, but I will say that I am in love with the Mistborn trilogy. These books are so incredible, and honestly some of the best fantasy I've ever read. They're very big books. Each of them is like over 600 pages, so it can seem kind of daunting, but I promise these books just fly by. They are some of the quickest reads, which is kind of ridiculous because they're so huge. I like this one equally to the first one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars as well, and I am so excited to finally read the last book. Alright guys, so that is it for my October wrap-up. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these books and any of your thoughts on them, and also let me know what was your favorite book that you read in the month of October. If you'd like to follow any of my reading progress or just my life in general, all of my links for my social media are in the description box as always. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!